Emma from Emma C Makes, and this is a tutorial on how to crochet this very lovely corner to corner moss stitch blanket. In this example here, I've used up some leftover sock yarn, and this is a brilliant pattern for using up mini skeins, leftovers, scraps of yarn. You can use any weight yarn that you like, provided you use the appropriate hook size. And the great thing about this, because it's worked corner to corner, is you can simply carry on adding yarn and adding more rows until you reach the size you want, and then start decreasing, and you'll end up with a perfectly square blanket. So for the purposes of the tutorial, I'm actually going to be using some DK weight acrylic that I have had in stash, just so things are a little bit easier for you to see. I would recommend going up a hook size. So the recommended hook for DK weight is a 4mm. I'm going to be using a 4.5 just to give that blanket a little bit extra drape and to ensure that it doesn't work up too stiff. If you are quite a tight crocheter, then you'll probably want to go up to a 5mm. So it's a really simple pattern, but it can be just a little bit fiddly at first. So you want to begin by creating a slip knot and chaining 3. And we're going to work into this third chain from the hook here, and we're going to work a double crochet. Now, if you are used to using US terminology, you will know this as a single crochet, but that's the only stitch involved in this pattern. And then into the same space, going to chain 1 and then work another double crochet. And that's your first row done. It can be a little bit tricky to see what you're doing, but I promise it does become clearer. So we're going to chain 2 now, and we're going to turn. And I'm just going to bring this closer. I'll just take that out a moment. So we can see we've got, here's the double crochet stitch here. We've got the chain 1 space in the middle, and then here this second V is the very first double crochet stitch that you made. And what we're going to do is work in between those 2 stitches. So we're going to pop our hook through, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through both loops on the hook, and that's our first stitch. We're going to chain 1 again, and now we're going to work into this space at the end, which was created by the chains that we skipped in the beginning. We're going to insert our hook and work a double crochet again. We're going to chain 1, and into that same space we're going to work another double crochet. However, before we work through those last 2 loops, we're actually going to snip our yarn, and we're going to pull through. Oops. We're going to pull through our next colour. Now, if you didn't want to change colours, there was obviously, you could have just completed the stitch as normal, and we're simply going to repeat that throughout. So again, we're going to chain 2 and turn. We're going to work into this gap here between those 2 double crochet stitches. We're going to chain 1, and now we're basically going to work into all of the chain spaces along. And this is the part that I think people struggle with. You remember that your double crochet stitches or your single crochet stitches, You can spot them by looking for this V shape here, which I'm holding between my thumbs here. So those are your stitches, and then the spaces in between are the chain spaces. We're going to work a double crochet into that chain space, and always at the end you want to do a double crochet, a chain one, and another double crochet. We're going to chain 2 again and turn, and I think you can see hopefully already that it's starting to get a little bit easier to spot the chain spaces. So you've got your double crochet and your second double crochet here, a chain space here and a double crochet and another chain space here, and then these are your chain stitches from the beginning. So we're going to work in between those first 2 stitches and chain 1, and into the next one and chain 1 again, double crochet and chain 1, and then into that very last space we're going to work a double crochet, a chain 1 and another double crochet. And because we've done 2 rows, I'm going to snip my yarn again, ready to work the next colour. Now, there are obviously no hard and fast rules with this, particularly if you're working this as a scrap yarn blanket. You can change colours at whichever point you wish. Sometimes you may find that you don't have enough yarn to get to the end of the row, so you'll change part way through. Let me just get mine to show you here. So towards the beginning you can see that I did tend to do 2 rows with each colour, but then obviously as the blankets got wider and wider, I've not always had enough yarn. So here, for example, I've changed part way through a row, and also because I don't want the blanket to look too dark, what I've done when I've had quite a strong colour going through, I've just done 1 row of that and stuck to 2 rows for the paler colours. But in general I do tend to do 2 rows per colour, but that is completely up to you. So we would chain 2 again and turn, work directly in between these 2 stitches here. Hopefully it should be getting a bit easier for you to see now. And then we're going to work a double crochet into each chain space along, and we're going to chain 1 in between each double crochet, and then when we get to the end, into that last space, we're going to work a double crochet, a chain 1 and another double crochet. And you can see that I've got this very cute and tiny little triangle now. So I'm going to show you 1 more row, and then I'm going to pop and work some more rows on this, and then I'll come back and show you how to do the decrease. So just once again, first double crochet goes here in between those first 2 stitches. We yarn we chain 1, sorry, to get to the next space, double crochet and chain 1. And you can definitely start to tell better now where these chain spaces are, and you're working along into each one of those. And then at the very end you're working a double crochet, a chain 1 and another double crochet. And if you're wanting to change colour, you're just going to do so by pulling through the new colour for the last part of that stitch and just snip the end off as you go. So I'm going to continue to add rows to this, and then I'll come back and I'll show you how to do the decrease. Okay, so I've just worked a few more rows. We still have this very cute triangle here, and now I'm going to show you how to turn it into a square. So I've just changed colour and I've chained 2 ready to begin the next row. So we're going to turn our work, and whereas normally we would work in between these 2 stitches here, we're actually going to skip both of these stitches and we're going to work our first stitch here. So here's where we would normally work our first stitch. We're going to skip these first 2 stitches here and we're going to work a double crochet and a chain 1 into that space there, and then we're simply going to work our double crochet and chain 1s in each chain space all along the row, and it's going to continue exactly the same until we reach the end of the row, and that's when you'll see things will be worked a little bit differently. So we'll continue. Let's get myself some more yarn. We'll continue working along there, and we're going to stop a little bit early. So once you've made your final double crochet, now normally we would work a double crochet, a chain 1 and another double crochet into this stitch here. We're not going to work a chain 1, and we're going to go straight into that space and just work a double crochet, and then we're going to chain 2, and then the pattern starts to repeat from there. So we're going to miss the first double crochet and the second double crochet. We're going to work our first double crochet into the next space and chain 1 and work our way back along the row, and we're going to stop again just before we reach the end. You do end up with quite a lot of yarn tails with this pattern, as you would with anything worked with scraps, but you can choose to work over them as you wish, but it doesn't bother me. I just sew them in at the end. Okay, so now we've stopped here, and then if we were continuing to increase, this is the space at the end where we would be working our double crochet, chain 1 and double crochet, but because we're on the decrease now, we're going to stop at the second to last space. We're not going to chain 1, and we're going to work 1 double crochet only into that space. And because we're changing colour to keep in pattern, I'm going to pull through the next colour as I make that stitch. So I'll just snip this off, and I'm switching to pink now. Going to pull that through and just give that other tail a little bit of a tighten, and you can neaten all of this up at the end when you sew your ends in. So we've chained 2 and we're going to turn. Our first double crochet is here. It's just looking a little bit loose at the moment because we've changed colours. Our second one is here. We're going to ignore both of these and we're going to work straight into this next space here with a double crochet and a chain 1. And again, we're just going to continue to work double crochets and chain 1s right the way along until we get to that second to last space at the end of the row here. Oops, your hands are getting stuck. Okay. Okay, so we're nearing the end now. So here's our chain space right at the end, and here's our second to last space. So we're going to work a double crochet into the second to last space there. We're not going to chain one this time, and we're just going to work a double crochet into that space, and then we're simply going to chain 2 and repeat. But you can see how the sides are starting to square off now. So I'll show you one more time. So here's our 2 double crochets. The first one is here and the second one is there. We're going to ignore both of those and go into this next space here with a double crochet and a chain 1. Remember, if you're in the US or used to US terminology, you want to be working single crochets. And simply continue along till the end of the row, and you'll continue in this way until you have no more stitches left, basically, with your decreases. So here we go. Here is our second to last space here, and here's the chain space at the end. So we're going to work 1 double crochet into the second to last space. We're not going to chain 1, and we're going to work another double crochet in the end there. And I've pulled that through, but this is the end of our second row with this colour, so you'll be wanting to change colour again there. So I'm going to continue now and just finish off the square so I can come back and show you how it looks. I am right at the end now, so I just thought I'd come and show you how to finish off the very last part here, because it can be a little bit tricky. So I've just changed colours and chained 2. I'm going to turn, and we've only got 1 space left. Basically our next space that we're going to work into is the second to last space. So we're just going to work a double crochet into there, and then another double crochet straight into that chain space. And as you can see, it still looks just a little bit flat at the end. So just to finish off, what we're going to do is chain 2 and turn, and we're going to work a double crochet straight into that chain space at the end, and then you can snip off the end of your yarn and just pull through, ready to sew in. And there's your lovely moss stitch corner to corner square. But I hope you really like this stitch. It is a really beautiful one. For scrap yarn, as I say, you can create some really beautiful effects by combining all the different yarns. So I hope you found that tutorial helpful. If you did, then please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.